appreciate your help.
Do you have a blue hat on?
Yeah, that was me.
I saw you.
That's my boy.
Yeah, absolutely. You have the tie on?
Yeah, I don't have parking.
No.
Yeah, close enough. That was crazy.
Dude.
Always.
What? What was that doing? I was working out with Vincent, and we walked by this ATO's going to play basketball. Okay. Yep.
Actually, they're the same, like, I was playing with
From the court. We gotta do better blocking out there. Let's go to I was looking
It's the life that you live.
I'm thinking you should. Come here, kid.
Doing great.
I'll text you next time.
Travis Mark. Hey, how did dinner go? You gonna walk in?
I didn't get to.
Me either. I was kind
I
of
wanted to. Yeah.
All right, everybody, this meeting is now coming to order. All right, thanks everybody for coming out. We're gonna get started. So, would anybody like to utilize open forum tonight?
Hi everyone, so good to see you all again after such a long break. In case you've forgotten ever since we left for Christmas break, I'm Heather Mann. I'm the president of Spectrum, Auburn University's Gay Straight Alliance, and on the executive committee for OSTEM out in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Our meeting this week in Spectrum is going to be focusing on the SGA elections which are coming up. We will be welcoming a few candidates for president and vice president. I think as of right now, we have confirmed Jack O'Keefe, Jakari Holt, Ada Huntley, Annie Osmond, and Xavier Kimbrell coming and speak and doing a Q&A with our membership. And actually, that's pretty much all I had. I hope you all, if there are any other candidates who would like to come and join us, please don't hesitate to come and talk to me so you can all be added to the roster. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to utilize open forum?
Okay, so we had 2 hours of debate on the Constitution. So I wanted to give everybody time to think on it and propose any changes moving forward. Obviously, this is not anything that's going to happen in our term, but we don't want to lose momentum with the project. So if anyone had some ideas they wanted changes or code changes they worked out, I was going to go ahead and get those and start working on those. Did anybody have a change that they wanted to see? Need a minute? We talk for 2 hours?
One thing that I would like to propose is term limits in the sense of the organization, so say Pamela can only hold a seat for 2 years or some sort of example of that, just so it is fair and well-rounded within each of those 10 categories.
Taylor Kosium. I think it would be really interesting to look at how Ole Miss does it with the apportionment based off of how many students are involved in those particular organizations and maybe increasing the amount of senators involved. That way we're ensuring that more voices are being heard than one senator running off of one platform for one organization. I think that would be something interesting to look into.
Yeah, right, business. I was wondering if we could possibly look into maybe expanding our current liaison seats first, almost for a trial year, and then bring them over into Senate seats to maybe just see organizational buy-in and just kind of, I don't know, ease into the process a little bit. I know something that we discussed for a lot of that time was not being able to fill current Senate seats, and so just kind of looking into that. We're also kind of seeing what having those organizations having a seat at the table, but just on a non-voting seat would look like in a year, and I think that could be really helpful and add some good insight into what it would look like.
Yeah, are you talking about expanding the current liaison position or
Yes.
modeling it more after the?
Expanding more liaisons. I know at the beginning of our term, I'd reach out to the Greek Life office and several others that possibly adding a seat. And I don't know that they had much interest at the time, but I think that would be something would be great looking into, because then we could kind of have like a tangible idea of what it would look like to them. I think that transition would be easier. And, yeah.
Gotcha.
So like, I mean, I'm not saying, but I work for organizations board, and so like two things. I was reading the placement article, so it's talking about how there's like 13 categories of organizations. Well, we've been like working on that to make it like more concise for students, and so I don't know if you like talked to Cameron about like our changes, but I think we're deciding from like 5 and 6 now, basically putting new organizations in those categories. So I'm not sure what AU involved in the update, but eventually it's going to be a lower number, so that might help y'all's decision making. And then also, we don't really have an active roster for most organizations, so finding an exact number of like who's in the academic category might not be as simple currently. So maybe some kind of like census or like actually like making it a requirement for organizations to have an updated roster, the same way they have an updated constitution, because like we have rough estimates of numbers, but we don't have specifically like, oh, there's 190 people in these boards and X, Y, and Z.
Gotcha. Appreciate it.
I guess looking at how they would affect the budget and finance committee and seeing what kind of checks and balances we would have in place for that.
Anybody else?
I'll just clarify something really fast. When I meant like term limits, I meant to the organization, not a specific person. So I just want to make sure that we know that.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else like to utilize open forum? Alright, so, excuse me, we're not moving to roll call, so senators, please pick up your eye clickers and click NA.
Is anybody's not working? Okay. Now we're different.
Okay, the minutes were sent out, but we saw some corrections being made, so we will address those and send them out again, later on this week. So after that, we will now move into reports of officers. So,
Hey y'all, I just wanted to come and say thank you for a great year. Tonight we had our last cabinet meeting of the year, and the teams are going to continue to work in their respective areas. But I want to thank y'all for your collaboration with cabinet, and I also want to remind y'all that as your term comes to an end, please continue to just promote SGA events and like participate in SGA events because y'all know about them. I won't make y'all raise your hands about the lunches again, but I would really love if y'all would go on a lunch after your term's over. Maybe you'll have some free time. Just really please take advantage because y'all are students who are in the know. And like that knowledge is very important. So just remember that and thank y'all for serving so well. I know y'all had some late Monday nights and just please know that that doesn't go unnoticed and the students appreciate it. And please don't forget the importance of your voice, not only during your term as a senator, but when your time ends. So thank y'all for a great year, and if you see any cabinet members, congratulate them on a great year and as they continue their work. So thank y'all so much.
Hey y'all, I have a couple announcements tonight. First thing, if y'all wouldn't mind getting out your phones, the committee chairs are going to agree that is the last cabinet of this semester, and so with that in mind, I just wanted to wrap up cabinet by telling you all some of the amazing things that we're going to accomplish this year. So on payday, 11,805 main class rented out, and 213 volunteers gave their time in hopes of unifying the Auburn family. Progression forum, more than 350 applicants applied, and there were 46 freshmen that were selected. They revamped their curriculum and have done excellent things and excellent things. They're going to help with their new project coming up. 39 campus and city organizations participated in the homecoming parade. 45 registered student organizations participated in the organizational seating program last year. Successfully were allocated, but thanks to that team's really big dedication to SGA, just serving promoting students, we have 61 organizations registered for OSP next year. So that is more than 20 organizations that are going to be in the process of boxing and have the opportunity to join Auburn Family on game day. We had student leaders from UGA and Alabama at Better Relations Day. We supported SAU through a whole platform, and we have another one coming up. And so lots of excellent things that have happened this year. So please congratulate that team. And then one of the most amazing things to me that I found out, so throughout the fall and spring semester, or through the summer and fall semesters in SGA programs, there were 10,810.33 complex hours made with students. And so over 10,000 hours were spent in engaging with students, passing out a name tag, having a conversation at an event at Family Fridays. So that's really incredible, and I'm really proud of that team and that. With all those things in mind, we still have 7 more programs to go. And so things are still going. So some dates for y'all to put on our calendar. Miss AU Platform Week will be February 17th through 21st. And that is celebrating the arts with Miss AU. So Collins is a member of Freshman Forum, and she has really great things for that week. And that week's kind of at an awkward time where cabinet is done, but there's not going to be cabinet yet. And so I need all the cabinet's help as well as y'all's help in that, and really supporting her well in that. And then Creative Week will be March 23rd through 27th. So that's another great opportunity for y'all to continue to serve. And the last day I want to give y'all is February 1st, which is this upcoming Saturday. So that is an important game. But also, it is the year reveal of the Ollie exhibition. So I don't know if y'all follow Ollie on Instagram or SGA on Instagram, y'all should do that. But that will be this upcoming Saturday from 3 to 4 p.m. And that is giving Ollie a place to be celebrated and recognized on Auburn's campus permanently. And so that celebration will be on the front steps of the Student Center at this Saturday, 3 to 4 p.m. So I would love to see y'all there to celebrate that team because they are a part of cabinet and they do so much that we never see. So that's just a simple way that we can recognize them and thank them. So overall, just thank y'all for y'all's investment. Thank you for diving in and your partner programs. See you.
Hey guys, so tonight was, like we said, last cabinet, and it's actually sad, gonna be my last Senate, because I actually have class during this time, it goes until 9:30. It really stinks, I've avoided it for 4 semesters now, I can't not do it anymore, I won't graduate on time. So this is the last time I'm gonna be able to, talk to all of you in this setting. I was gonna list out all the wonderful accomplishments that outreach has done, but more incentive for you guys to come to the banquet on March 1st, because you can hear them then. But quick outreach update, breaking barriers follow-up sessions are gonna be tomorrow at 1 and Thursday at 3, in the enrollment suite, and I know there were a lot of conversations that were not finished, at that event. There was a ton of people, and that's wonderful, but that means that everyone didn't get to talk or fully express their opinions or thoughts or ideas, and so these info sessions are gonna give people an opportunity to come and talk with, students one-on-one, to be able to express their opinions. So we'd love if you guys would stop by, share some thoughts, bring a friend, whatever you want. So, bye.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Yeah, as we're in the spirit of just saying thank you, I do want to thank y'all. I know y'all had a really long, special session last Tuesday, and thank you for that debate. Thank you for your hard work all year. I'm excited to see the legislation that's on the docket for tonight as well. I've had a chance to be involved situation because it does impact the game day experience for the Auburn family, and that includes the student body. So I appreciate y'all taking this on. I'm looking forward to the discussion. I do want to share one thing that I've shared as far as our executive opinion on it is just consider the barricades. The barricades are very important, and the barricades are different than other student sections have. The barricades really do protect our environment within the school section. And so that is definitely just a factor we want to consider in this. And I appreciate the hard work that senators have put into this. And like I said, I'm looking forward to that discussion. But the Auburn family and administration certainly needs your voice. So looking forward to that. Do y'all have any questions for Michael? Okay, well, I'll be here. Feel free to yell to me if any do arise. But I appreciate that and all of your hard work. War Eagle.
Where you go?
All right, that is it for officers, so we're now moving to reports of colleges, starting with at large.
None at large. So just one little thing, kind of feedback on what Edward said. We must have spent some time kind of just gathering feedback for that discussion tonight. I'm just really excited to kind of get into that with some of our guests.
Agriculture.
Hawkins Agriculture. So tonight, Ag Ambassadors hosted the University of Florida students. They're on their way to IPPE, which is the International Poultry or Processing and Production Expo. Over 6 countries go, and over 1,500 companies are represented, and about 36,000 students and university members go to this event to have internships, job interviews and stuff like that. So Auburn is also taking a group on Wednesday, so I think about 50 or 60 students are going. And that's all I have. I yield my time to our school council president and vice president, Dan.
What's up, y'all? I'm Dan Wendland. I'm the president of the College of Agriculture Student Council, and this is Kara, and she. So first and foremost, I'd like to give a big thank you to our officer team. We had a ton of applicants this semester, or this past year, and we were able to select some really good ones to help me and Kara along the way. This summer, I personally was not here for about 2 months, and they really took the lead in planning our welcome back event. So I really would like to give them a big round of applause. So the first event we hosted was the Welcome Back Picnic. We had over 300 students turn out from the College of Agriculture. This was a really big event, and we had about 20 clubs that came to advertise themselves and recruit new members. As you can see, we had a large variety of students from pretty much every club in the College of Agriculture, and the freshmen really were able to connect with older students. There's the details. It was August 22nd. Okay, yeah, I went over that. So, next slide. The next event we had was our annual Texas A&M Student Exchange. The College of Agriculture has a really unique event where we swap students with the Texas A&M Coles Council, that is their College of Agriculture and Life Sciences student council, and they hosted us. They took us to a class. We got to sit in on as guests in a lecture. We went to a barbecue class where we learned how to do Texas barbecue. They gave us a tour of their massive campus and taught us about their ring tradition, and we also were able to develop personal relationships with their student leaders. So we all really enjoyed that and got a lot out of that trip. The next event we hosted was the Mississippi State Tailgate. This was also another cookout on Comer Lawn. We had food, drinks, and cornhole tournament, and we had about 125 people turn out between students and faculty. So the student and faculty bodies were both able to bond and able to commingle with each other and just have a good time before the rest of the adults.
This is also like a really awesome way that our students in college graduates meet the deans of the college. I know personally that's how I met deans and how I got personally involved in the schools council, is by just this small picnic or tailgate that we host each year. Even though a lot of people don't come, we try to get a lot out of that.
So to wrap this up, College of Ag is a little bit unique. I know that elections are coming up, but I'll remain president up until the end of Ag Week. So a lot of y'all may remember last year we took over the green space. We had over 1,000 students turn out, and pretty much every club in the College of Ag or ag-related club was able to set up a booth and tell other students about what they do and how agriculture impacts our university and our state. So if you want to look at a couple of those dates and jot them down and pass that word on to your college, we'd love to have any of y'all turn out to any of these events. So on the 23rd, we'll have a student awards banquet, which I'll probably not come back, 'cause that's specifically College of Agriculture. The 25th will be a recent alumni panel, and those are students who do everything from work at banks to work with cattle, work with loan officers. So we have a broad variety of students coming back to give us a little bit of advice about how their recent careers have been. That'll be the 25th in Comer Hall. On the 26th, that's the big event that all of y'all probably remember. It's the Beyond the Farm event, and it'll be on the green space, like I said. So we hope to see all y'all there. There'll be food. We'll be partnering with campus dining, and it'll be a really good time. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the Peds will come through this year. And the 27th, we'll be having an industry tour where we'll go and tour local ag industries in our side of the state of Alabama. So please join us for any of these events that you like, and if any of y'all would like to get more information about them, feel free to reach out to us. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank y'all. Now we have business. Report from business.
A little bit business. Just a quick brag on our MBA program. We just got ranked in our online MBA program got ranked within the top 25 in the U.S. World League.
All right, Cassie.
Welcome, Cassie. I'd like to yield my time to our student council's president, vice president. They have a short presentation.
Hey y'all, I'm Cole Bush. Thank you all for having us here this evening.
And so just a quick review of what the CBC Student Council has accomplished. Okay, so we started off with Welcome Week, and our college doesn't have a lot of visibility on campus. This was like a huge initiative that I wanted to take. Was giving out these t-shirts so people could see our college, something to be proud of. We are really awesome, and we just want people to feel that so we can wear something of that. So we gave out almost 200 shirts for the fall Welcome Week. We gave them out at two of our locations. We have 3 buildings, so 2 out of 3 we gave out. You should see. That's cool.
Hey Day was quite successful. We just posted up right outside of Dudley Hall and had some really good conversations with some students who passed by and wanted to have a conversation. And that was just a really nice way to kind of remind everybody that that's where architecture is, and anybody that want to know anything about CADC. And it was a beautiful day, so it was nice to be outside.
And we don't have like a ton of, it's pretty much just 2 of us, and the problem that we have with our school council is that we like to get everybody organized. There hasn't been like a lot of like passing down very well. So in the future, hopefully we'll have more volunteers and more content, but for now we're just kind of scooting with everybody else. Which is kind of like what we did for our answers. This is our super ghetto our answers. But we wanted to participate. I mean, so we got good feedback from a couple students, but in the future we probably need to be a little more efficient.
I'm pretty sure some wacky questions come in, but I think they're all answered.
But they felt heard.
So a big thing that we tried to start this year is just kind of provide unity across the college as a whole, because we are kind of so fragmented by being in 3 separate buildings. So we thought, why not start with the communication within the college? So we started the first ever CADC listserv, and Ariel and I were just trying to gather any pertinent information that we felt that our students would like to know, upcoming events, organization meetings, just really trying to keep everybody in the know. And we sent that out weekly, and for the future we're going to try to make it a little bit more aesthetic. We are a design college, so we're trying to make it look a little better so our students actually read it.
Yeah, so it's just like an outdated list we're working out the kinks. And we made it so people would read it. I mentioned that organizing the council has been a little bit of a challenge, but hopefully the people coming after us are going to have everything set up so that it'll be great, and we'll be able to serve with some support from the college instead of kind of being a
So Welcome Week during fall was such a big hit, and we had a lot of demand for our t-shirts that we gave out the same t-shirt and we gave out more than last time. We were completely out again. And with this demand, we have seen an opportunity to offer CAC students more. But that will come later in the presentation.
So these are some pictures of our happy students. The front was designed by a building science major, and the back was done by a graphic designer, such as emphasizing that unity within our college, which I think is really cool.
And we still have, people are still paying for those t-shirts. So, big hit.
And then we have some projects in motion. We have a really extensive professional fee for our college, just kind of how it is. But it has many transparency, and people haven't really been able to directly see like where their money is going. So we're working with our dean to get that pinpointed and get like a narrative as to why it is the way that it is, because it's like a #1 complaint from our college that they don't understand where all their money is going to. So this has made huge headway, and so that should be done with also communications.
Main goal of this is to set that there's really no ambiguity with incoming students or prospective students. I really wanted to, we're really interested in the College of Architecture, Design, and Construction, but they were a little concerned with that hefty professional fee. So perhaps it's just kind of air out and make people more comfortable where their money's going. Because CAC really does believe more about quality than efficiency and just pumping them out in 4 years. So what our dean is really passionate about, and this is comes from formerly worked at Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt has a really awesome technology rental program called the Gear to Go. And it's widely used there within their engineering department. And students can rent out anything from MacBooks to cameras to the Oculus things with the 360 degrees and all that. Just a really extensive rental program that we think our students can really benefit from, especially being within the design area. So what we're trying to do is get this off the ground, and we're starting with kind of keeping track with our existing one, which we found that was kind of dormant. So we're going to really work to try and improve that and let all our students know that that's available for them to use. So they don't have to go and purchase all this really expensive technology that's kind of required when it comes along.
And going on that like visibility that I mentioned in our merchandise store, that's all going to have us like CAC swag, because a lot of colleges have that available already, and we wanted to step up and kind of meet that. So working with the company set that up, we're available online year round. That's in the works.
Yeah, and a huge congratulations to our buildings management teams. They're always exceeding at these awesome competitions. And we just had another team make it to the Final Four that will be coming up at the end soon. I think the last one may have been in LA. I don't know where this one is, but huge congratulations to Texas. And that's what we did. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Next, we'll go to COSAM.
Taylor Joseph. Just want to remind your constituents that right now the pre-professional application committee applications are due this Friday. So that's for any student looking to go into any health post-grad field. And I know that pre-health extends outside of COSAM, so please remind your constituents that that is due this Friday.
Thank you. Education.
Late in education, I want to yield our time to our schools council.
Okay, my name is Sadie Miller, and I'm president of the College of Education.
I'm Madison Sherchick, and I'm the vice president.
So we're going to tell you a little bit about our year. Our advisor reached out to us about participating in Camp Work Equal this year. So we showed up to the College of Education information sessions where students will come and kind of pick out their classes that they need to be taking. So we assisted them in kind of choosing those classes, giving them like the student inside scoop of like the easy teachers and like how to pick out your like good times to take your classes, and like 8 a.m.s, like I know you've been doing it for 4 years, but don't do it here in college, just things like that. And then when the students would go up to the computers to like work out their schedule, we would stay back with the parents and along with some grad students. They were able to ask us questions about college, anything about the College of Education, or like we got questions about how much money they should give their kids, if their kids are going to be okay, just absolutely anything that was on their mind. They got to ask us that, and we were
watched any like major college basketball games and you've seen them wearing the green ties, that's who this is. And they partner with a lot of colleges, and they will either partner with like a school in the area or a nonprofit. And so in Auburn, our partnership is with the Institute of Reading Development, and this is brand new, so we got started kind of late with them. So this year we're only going to be, I guess, volunteering at the Fight for Literacy basketball game. It's the game against Ole Miss this year. And so we'll be reading with the children from the Institute before the game, and then we'll be helping pass out the green wristbands, flyers, and things like that. And then at halftime, we'll go help present the check with all of the money that they've raised throughout the year for them. But we are hoping to make this kind of the College of Ed's annual partner, just so that in the future, like, we can do book drives for them. There's chances to volunteer at the Institute, and then we plan on volunteering every single year at the basketball game as well.
We think it's really good for the College of Ed because it is literacy and we're because of young children and which is really exciting and it's what we do a lot anyway. So we enjoy that. And that is all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Next, we have engineering.
Hotel engineering. So I know there's been a huge point emphasis on what time Brown Cobble closes recently, and so now it's been extended to 12 o'clock, so midnight. And the reason it's not 24 hours yet, just because I know some people might have asked y'all, is right now they need to find someone to staff it 24 hours of the day. So whether that be a student employee or like a full-time employee, it just has to be staffed by someone at the front desk or a security person. So if anyone comes to you and asks y'all why that big new engineering building is not open 24 hours, that's the reason why.
Thank you. All right, forestry and wildlife sciences.
Thank you, Forestry and Wildlife Sciences. I'll yield my time to our school's council, Jason Collins.
Hello everybody, my name is Jason McCauley. I am the School of Forestry and Wildlife Sciences School Council President. Sadly, my Vice President was not able to be here tonight because he has class. So, when we started off the year, we wanted to get 3 big things done. Being a small school, even if we get a little bit of participation, it's still not that much. So we wanted to increase awareness about what we do as a whole and within the school. We also wanted to increase involvement and then try to handle complaints so that the kids knew when they came to us about stuff, we could get stuff done for them. So, to increase awareness, one of the big things I wanted to do is limit the amount of emails that the school council actually sent out to the students, because we have a lot of emails. Some of them are really important, some of them are not. And I was afraid if we sent just a bunch of emails out when we needed one to get out, the kids would overlook it. Also, we began attending other club meetings within the school as presentation of SGA, so we would put on our name tags, go in there, and show the other clubs that we supported them. And then we tried to start creating events that got the students involved without having to be in a different club or major or any specific thing like that. So, 2 of the big things that we were able to do that increased involvement is the Welcome Week event this year. And what we do with that is we just, food, drinks, we have cornhole tournaments. It's just a good chance for the students to get to meet each other, meet all the officers of the clubs, all the ambassadors for the school, and other professors. And we had so many kids that we ran out of food for the amount of kids that we thought would be there based off increasing last year's numbers. Also, at the end of the semester, we had a little hot chocolate, finals week kickoff. That seemed to be a big turnout, and all the kids really enjoyed it. So, getting student complaints and comments in, we were able to make some pretty big changes that I'm proud of. From office hours, our Senator McKenzie was able to get a new crosswalk put on Lynn Morrison between the intersection of Lynn Morrison and Duncan with the construction going on. And we're in discussion now to possibly get a food truck rotation up to Terrell. So to end this, I'd like to thank all the SGA and senators, because without everybody being able to work together on this, none of this at each of the schools would be possible. So thank y'all all, and thank y'all for y'all's time.
Thank you, Jace. Next we have grad school,
No report.
human sciences,
No reports.
liberal arts,
No report.
nursing,
No report.
pharmacy.
MPC Pharmacy, we challenged the vet school, the nursing school, and the guidance student council to donate $500 to the SAFE program, so we're really excited to see them potentially match that. And then also I yield my time to the floor, to our school's council president, Aaron Bissell.
So I had a nice PowerPoint, and the pictures on it were too large. So, and I'm not tech savvy, so I couldn't figure out how to get it to increase it. So I'm just gonna kind of give it to y'all. If it's okay. Is that all right? So to begin with, we had a really busy year. I'm sure all of y'all have doing whatever y'all do. I know that y'all do some really important stuff here. Some things that we took care of this year, we actually had accreditation this year, which for us is a huge thing. And we are still waiting for all the reports on that, but we were a crucial part of getting the students involved with that. We were the voice of that. So over the summer, we were involved with editing our 2,000-page document that we sent off for accreditation purposes. We also were part of the site visit whenever they came. That was a really cool experience to be able to do as well. One of the biggest initiatives that we also did this year was we rolled out a new committee. So one of the things that we, as pharmacists, should be doing is health screenings and stuff like that. It's kind of up our alley, I guess. So we rolled out a new committee called the Health and Wellness Committee. And basically what they do is, one of the things was we actually had 3 different health fairs at our football games. So at our tailgates we had that. I can't remember the exact ones, but they were this fall. We're also having another one during payday. And during that we did blood glucose measurements, we also did blood pressure, and then as well, a lot of them we did flu shots. So that was really cool for us to be able to do. And then another thing that we were able to do with that was our Hanes Fitness Challenge that Lauren mentioned. And they were in charge of basically organizing that and collecting data and all that fun stuff. So that was a big deal for them. It's been a great success. We had a lot of people looking out for that. So we're really pumped about that. Another thing, again, this is why I wish I had my PowerPoint, is we have this thing called Heart Rates Day for pharmacy school. We have that in the spring every year. And that's coming up this March, but we had it also last March. This is basically field day. In case y'all were wondering, we actually do that in pharmacy school. And so we go out to the intramural fields and we have games and we compete between the classes. So it's very competitive. People get very angry when they lose, and it's a lot of fun. We have a blast. But it's a good way for us to bond with our class, and we always enjoy that time. Another thing that we also do around that same time period is apothecary ball. So basically, it's what it sounds like. It's a common for pharmacy. And so that takes place around the same time as Heart Race, and we were really fortunate to be able to ask the alumni and different donors to be able to come to our apothecary ball this past year. We're repeating that because it was such a big success. So it brought in a good amount of revenue for us, and we had a blast doing that. So that was a lot of fun. Some other things that we do, we have a chili cook-off every year, and it's great. We have teachers, we have students that go and pay for it, or cook, I guess. And we have about 20 contestants in that, and so you get to sample all of it for $10. It's awesome, especially for like chili. So it's a lot of fun. Another thing that we do that's really big for pharmacy is we go to this thing called legislative day. So all of y'all are senators, so you understand what legislation is, right? So we actually go to Mobile, or not Mobile, Montgomery, where we
college, vet med.
No.
All right, thank you also to the schools council that came tonight. We'll have some more presentations next week, but we really appreciate everything y'all do. We look forward to continuing that. So if y'all see any of them on campus or wherever, just give them another pat on the back. All right, so now we go into committee reports, starting with academic affairs.
Still engineering. So please fill out that registration form, or the registration survey that Carlos sent out earlier this week. It's our responsibility, those in this room and then the members of cabinet, to represent the 25,000 undergraduate students that we have on campus. So if y'all don't have any issues with the registration, I know one of your friends has complained about it, or one of your constituents has complained about it, so just turn one in with their complaints. And then the next thing is Scantrons. We're unfortunately not in the C-stores today, but we're still looking forward to that in the next week. So hopefully by next week we'll update y'all when they are in the C-stores. Thank you.
Budget and finance.
City business, thank you, Mr. President. Really working with the BNF team to get our transition materials as ready as we can so that the next team coming in can do the very best they can be well prepared so we can get that process started quickly, because as soon as the new Senate gets in and those teams are collectively made, it hits the ground running with BNF immediately to get the fiscal year going for the next year. In terms of tonight's legislation, I'd love to just direct your attention to Current Order of Business G, Chapter 1019 Code Correction. I will say that that is a piece of legislation that is raising the minimum limit required of funding for our student organization SAO by 25%. So this is some substantial legislation that we're looking into tonight. Just want to get that on your radar right now before we get to debate on that piece of legislation. So just want to get your mind thinking, realizing that yes, the code team, that's just a big deal we got coming through tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Other laws.
So we are wrapping up our code education and our code corrections. We will have our final one next week, so we're going to make it good. They've all been good. Sorry, I didn't mean to disregard anybody. And then also, we are approving and checking over some school council's constitutions just to make sure that they line up and that they're getting everything that they need to get done. And then, yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Inclusion and diversity.
Hello, Miss at large. I am the new committee chair, so if y'all need anything, you can contact me and also we have a resolution as a future order going through tonight. We've been working on really hard, so we're really excited about it.
Thank you. Student affairs.
Good evening. I want to thank everyone for their hard work on the polling place resolution. We've decided, the executive committee, to table it to the next session. So I'll be working with the next student affairs committee chair to work on transitions with that resolution. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Freshman committee.
No report.
Exec committee.
Huntley Human Sciences. Hey y'all, so as y'all know, office hours were implemented for this previous week, so please make sure that all those are submitted, the Google form and the sheet that's upstairs, so I'll be checking that after Senate. Also, I did mention last week that I'm proposing code of laws corrections, basically implementing what I was discussing about having a set daytime and location for your college office hours, so that you're more accessible to the students within your college. Hopefully those can be like published on the SGA website, and maybe print materials for you to be able to post within your colleges. That is something that I'm really excited about passing along to the next pro temp to really implement, given the research that was done. So excited to bring that code change into work hopefully next week. As far as Senate Exec, like I went over last week, if you did not attend Senate Exec last semester, you are still required to attend it this semester. If you do not do so, that will result in half of an absence, so please do that. That's going to be this Thursday, and then the last one is next Thursday. So please keep that on your radar. We're at 7 p.m. We student involvement suite. Then last thing from me, Senator Sadie already alluded to this, the transition materials are upcoming. Those will be due next Thursday. So if you have any suggestions for your committee chairs about things that worked really well that you want to see the next committee do, or things that didn't work very well that you want to see the next committee change, please make sure that those are included in those transition materials so that the new
now we're moving to reports of liaison. We'll start with honors.
No.
Okay. ISO.
Green Love ISO. I'll be speaking. So I'm just gonna quick give a rundown of the international student organization and the liaison position. So for starters, y'all can read the mission statement in full, but just the part that I'm gonna point out and draw attention to is to improve multinational understanding and promote relationships between people of different cultures. That is the international student organization's entire goal. The international student population on campus is just over 2,800 students, which makes up a little bit shy of 10%. They are from 100 different countries, so the flags in the student center are very true. ISO can sometimes be a little confusing because some people may look at it as more of an umbrella organization, but there are more than 15 student associations that are like kind of sort of within ISO and work very close with us. Let me talk a little bit more about this. Okay, so what does ISO do? Like I mentioned previously, our main goal is to promote relationships and understanding between people of different cultures. So we do that through putting on events. Social Hour is probably the one that y'all are most familiar with that happens every Friday in this room at 4 p.m. It's just a quick hour. And I mentioned previously the student organizations, those are the ones, the people that partner with ISO in order to make those social hours happen. So each social hour will be sponsored by a different student organization. This varies from Vietnamese student organization to the Nepalese, Muslim, variety. And they are in charge of creating a menu, attire, dining, and then providing some sort of presentation or activity about something to do. Peace Dinner, that happens once a year during the fall semester. This is once again another opportunity for the student organizations to get involved. They're in charge of creating a menu and then serving it. This past time we had over 1,000 people come, so it's pretty big. Fall Feast, some of y'all may have been involved with that. That's the event that we do in partnership with SGA over Thanksgiving break. Many international students came up during Thanksgiving because it's especially for our child for this week, and so we provide with our message. World's Fair is the big event in the spring. Another opportunity for the student organizations to take part in. Some will have a big, some will do a performance at the beginning, like singing a national anthem or reading from the Quran, doing a dance. So that's very cool. And then last but not least, we do a soccer tournament towards the end of the semester. And really anyone can contribute to that tournament. Most of the time it is the student organization. And then quickly listed, those are the different organizations within Auburn that we have cooperated? Collaborated with previously. So ISO's leadership is divided up into the executive team and then the subcommittees. The executive team consists of the president, the VP of programming, the VP of marketing, treasury, and secretary. And then there are also subcommittees underneath both of the VPs. Those are 3 to 5 people that aren't really required to go to the meetings, but they show up on the events and just all those kind of things. The Senate liaison doesn't really have a position on the executive team, so sometimes their role within ISO is not very clearly defined. So I think that's something that hopefully we nail down in the future, but we're still figuring that out. My role is to obviously attend the Senate meetings. I go to the ISO meetings every other week, and then to attend all the ISO events. Once again, like my role is not necessarily nailed down at those events, but just being able to step in wherever. So why should there be a liaison for ISO? So international students make up, like I said, just about 10% of the students on campus. They are in every college, and this is included in both undergrad and graduate. So it reaches a lot of different people. I also think that there can often be lots of misunderstandings between international and domestic students. And if somehow me serving this position, or just there being a liaison for the international student organization in general, makes you tell a constituent to go to Peace Dinner or Social Hour, and then begin to form a relationship between a domestic student and an international student, then I feel that ultimately this position is serving its purpose. So yeah, that's all I've got. These are the contests if you have any questions, but that's it.
Student veterans.
Nothing.
So I'm David Johnson. I'm a cadet in the ROTC. A little bit about me. I'm a platoon sergeant this semester. I'm in charge of about 40 guys for day-to-day operations as far as stuff like PT and battle drills and stuff like that. That's kind of my realm where I do most of my work. I started this program, or like at least encouraged this program for the ROTC because I've been seeing a need for us to have some more student leadership on campus and just kind of more face because we kind of operate in the shadows. Like, I mean, I'm sure everyone here knows an Army cadet or Navy or Marines or Air Force or whatever, but no one really knows what we do because we keep to ourselves a lot. And the organizations as a whole don't want to get to have more of a face in public, so I thought this would be a good way for us. So just run down this list real quick, give you all some information. The Army ROTC's goal is to train future leaders of America. We train Army officers, so that's kind of our realm. When you commission out of the ROTC, you're a second lieutenant, and you'll go and you can be active, you can be guard, reserve, whatever you want to do. But that's what we do. They train us for 4 years to go out and do leaders. The 7 Army values I wrote down here: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. That's what we are taught from the very moment we get here. That's our code. We live by those values, and if we are not staying up to those values, then we're not going to be ordered. That's how that works. So we have a pretty strict code of conduct there. We have about 200 cadets in the program, give or take. We're always losing and gaining more people. Yeah, so that's not including the other ROTCs, that's just the Army. Yeah, like I was saying, that next bullet, we were pushing to have more presence on campus. I think this would be a great way for us to kind of establish that for me and the cadets who come after me. Just kind of how our leadership works and just how the organization is broken down. We've got the highest level, we call them cadres, basically the instructors, and they're active military personnel. Usually they're non-commissioned officers and officers who are kind of coming to the end of their time in the military, and they're going to finish out their time by teaching the next generation of leaders. And then below that we have all of the cadet leaders, which are people like me, and I guess Dan Linden is left, but he has some very important job that I don't have to do. But everybody has a role at some point, even when you're just a Joe, when you're a freshman, sophomore, you still have a part of the team. Maybe you're just a rifleman or something, but you're still working towards that goal of training and perfecting your techniques as soldiers. The Auburn University campus is our area of operations, so it's like effectively our base, which is why you see us walking around in our uniforms and stuff. That's the reason for that. So I'd like to see the ROTC take a little bit more ownership. Since this is technically our base, I'd like to see us, really taking hold of this place and trying to make it more our own. I think a position like this would help myself and other cadets who come after me really take more ownership here. As far as working with the other ROTCs, we work with Air Force and Naval ROTC, which is Navy and Marines. For different events, we do color guards and we do joint training events and stuff like that every once in a while. And I'd love for this position to not just represent the Army eventually, but represent all the ROTCs. And I haven't been able to get them on board yet, but hopefully that will come in the future. We're starting out with the Army right now, but hopefully we can have everybody united. But we take place in a lot of events around campus, such as color guard, flag details. I mean, you see us out there marching on the field at games. We do graduation ceremony. If y'all seen us out there, that's one of our color guard events. So we have a presence on campus, but I'd like to really move that into more facets of everyone's lives, not just opportunities like that. So that's all I got. Y'all have a great night. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. So that is it for reports. So next in order, Next in order are current orders of business.
PSSB 200127001 liaison position confirmation.
Senator Huntley.
Huntley, Human Sciences, so you just heard the presentations of the two liaisons that we will be confirming for our term, from ROTC and ISO. I hope that you enjoyed them as thoroughly as I did and see why that position in SGA is a beneficial
moving second to adopt this bill, just raise there any debate. Okay, seeing no one now move to a vote, all in favor, please say aye, click A.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, and they're confirmed.
PSSB 20012702, Chapter 1008.5.12, Code change.
Ms. Barnes, senior disputes.
So a little bit more background on this. During election week, the Student Center actually has power over the Haley concourse, so they can say what goes and what doesn't. So that's where this has come from, for any of you who are questioning that. And then as far as the other concourses go, the Auburn University academic buildings if they have any preference on what they like or don't like, because we are students first, so if that's getting in the way of students, if any of the formal campaigning is getting in the way, then they have to say in that. So just as a reminder for those who didn't hear me from last week, this is basically a blanket code change, so it would tack on to the end of formal campaigning, the informal campaigning code, and basically, like as we know, those who have been involved with campaigns, you know that there are certain rules that we have to follow on the Haley concourse, and so there's nowhere in the code currently that the elections council can refer back to, because anything you do that's wrong, violations, thank you, sorry, any violations that you have pertaining to the concourse, there has to be a code reference to that. So, move to pass this bill.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt this bill. That was raised at debate,
Child engineering, just a quick question, is there, so like, when coming up with these rules, do students have any input on that? Like, do students have any effect on these rules, like being able to change the rules or, implementing new rules as far as the students that are in any buildings go?
No, I do not believe so. I think it's all handled through the elections council.
None at large. I'm just curious, will these be taken into effect, I guess, for the next campaign week that's about to start?
No, this will have no effect on this current campaign, like the one starting this week. So it'll be in effect if passed for this campaign next.
more debate. Mr. Meyer, y'all remember Stan, when you got make a motion. Is there any other debate now? Okay, seeing no one now move. Seeing no one now move to a vote, all in favor, there it is, all in favor of passing this, please say aye, click A.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it, this bill is adopted.
PSSB 20012703, Chapter 800, Code correction.
Talking about some of your award.
Ward Liberal Arts, this is just making a grammatical change, so I move to pass this bill as read.
Is there any debate? Seeing no one now move to a vote, all in favor, please say aye, click A.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it, this bill is adopted.
PSSB 20012704, Chapter 500, Code corrections.
Ward Liberal Arts, this is changing Director of Schools Council to Executive Director, and making it consistent throughout the whole code, so the following sections are just where it needs to be changed. So I move to pass this bill as written.
Moving second, is there any debate? Seeing no one now move to a vote, all in favor of passing this, please say aye, click A.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it, this bill is adopted.
PSSB 20012705, proposed deleted code sections.
Results of the Barton Busing Award.
Ward Liberal Arts, so in these, again, these were deletions, so there are a couple of different sections and they're pulled from different chapters. so that's why it doesn't all necessarily make sense, or not all go together. So I move to pass this bill as written. Oh, and I do have an amendment. The text that is deleted needs to be in red, and I sent that to Kristen.
Any debate on the amendment? Okay, seeing no one, I'll move to a vote. All in favor of passing this amendment, please say aye. Click A. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, and the amendment will be carried. So now we'll vote on the actual bill itself. Is there any other debate on the legislation? Okay, seeing no one, I'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Click A. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. This bill is adopted.
PSSE 2001-2706 proposed code corrections.
It's also a project lesson award.
For liberal arts, okay, so this is the piece of legislation that Jake was talking about, and this has the budget change in it where we increase the amount for the O fund. So what that looks like is, if I'm speaking correctly, please. Thanks. So we have given them $125,000. It's been designated the last 2 years, so we decided to make it official in the code, and that's what this is. And it didn't go through in a. Okay, yes, I'm going to yield this time to James.
City business, thank you, Senator Ward. Just kind of the background on how the code has worked for the O fund. It's typically been a $100,000 limit. 2 years ago, they got allocated $125,000. Worked fine. Last year, they were only allocated $100,000, but a PEF came through that increased their funding to $125,000. That's something we actually passed this current the previous fiscal year, but during our current Senate term. So we were all familiar with the increasing of that PEF. You know, the O fund is, from personal terms speaking, 100,000, 150,000. The limits, whatever that limit is our minimum we can possibly provide for that area. So speaking to that, it's really a decision you got to make. The O fund is made up of however many student organizations there are outside of just the 7 other SAOs. So you have 7 SAOs that take up about 85% of the overall budget, and then you have about 490 student organizations that make up the other 15% of the budget. Just to put it in perspective, not saying that we're misallocating funds between those, but just as a reference for the potential of raising that number. It's been increased multiple years in a row in the funding that's been given to them. I don't see a whole lot of problems with creating this minimum ceiling, but I also can see why you wouldn't want to create that to allow BNF some wiggle room as well. So it's really up to you on the Senate floor. Do we want to allow the potential for $100,000 and allow PEFs to come through when they run out of money like they have the past few years? Or do we want to just go ahead and create this minimum, require that money to be funded, and no longer have to have PEFs coming through, or allow BNF to potentially underfund, as we've seen that the $100,000 has not been enough for student organizations, and the Student Senate has found it reasonable to increase that fund as well. So it's kind of the basis on that.
Thank you, Senator Stady. And also along with that, these changes are just corrections to make sure that things are grammatically correct. So I move to pass this bill as written. Okay, this amendment just puts them in order. I apologize.
So, is there any debate on the amendment? That just puts it in order. Okay, seeing no one, I move to vote on the amendment. All in favor of passing the amendment, please say aye. Click A.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. So now we will continue conversation on the legislation itself. So, is there any debate on legislation soon or not?
None at large. So just having served on the BNF committee for 2 years, I've kind of seen how like just the process kind of happens really often that organizations come back and their own board comes back and asks for more money. And so I think that being able to allocate a little bit more off of that is just a good thing because they do serve so many students and kind of serve students like a niche that maybe not a ton of students necessarily need, but a few students really find their own in these organizations. So, I recommend that we all pass this bill. Thank you.
Other debate? Okay, seeing no one, I move to a vote. All in favor of passing this legislation, please say aye. Click A.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it, and this legislation is adopted.
PSSD 200127 Chapter 1019 Code Correction.
It's brought to you by Senator Ward.
Board of Liberal Arts. So we just made sure that we were clear that a media appearance was Eagle Eye TV, student media, and student news, and that's what this correction is. So I'm going to pass this bill as written.
We move to second to adopt this bill just read. Is there any debate? Okay, seeing none, seeing there's no further debate, we'll now move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Click A.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it, this bill is adopted.
PSSR 20012701 Resolution recommending the selling of alcohol in student section of Jordan Hare Stadium.
This is brought to you by Senator Sadie and Senator Passy.
Say business, say Mr. President.
Jackson at large. Thank you, Mr. President.
So, we got to speak last week a little bit about legislation. We came over to the podium just because Hayes and I sit on different sides of the room. Thought it would be easy to communicate from here on any questions that might arise during debate. But we do have an amendment that we'd like to bring to the floor. So it is the exact same thing we read last week. The only change was we did a little bit of an adjustment to the appendix, and we also added one new stanza that we'd like to read a little below, one more below. Perfect. Whereas maintaining the barricade that encloses the student section from other sections of the stadium is paramount when considering this potential addition in order to retain students in the section while also preventing non-students from entering. So the reason we wanted to add this was, I think if we include alcohol in the student section, we still do want the enclosed student section. I think that's valuable to Jordan Hare Stadium, valuable to our student experience, and something that you don't see at a lot of different college campuses across the country. And speaking personally as someone that's traveled around, and Senator Casson has as well, I think this is something that people speak volumes of when they visit Jordan Hare Stadium, and something we think very proudly of when we travel to other stadiums, saying, wow, it's very nice we have this enclosed area. So we definitely do want to push, if alcohol is introduced, and we make this recommendation, that the student section still remain blocked off.
And I think it's important to look at, I think, whether or not the stadium sells alcohol or not, like we want, like the barricades are something that's unique to Jordan Hare Stadium. And whether you talk about the sale of alcohol or not, like personally, like I would still want to have the barricades. And I think we can't let the pursuit of selling alcohol in the stadium deter us from having those barricades. And I just think that it kind of promotes also selling it student section rather than just in the full stadium. That makes sense.
So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to pass this bill as written, or pass the amendment as written.
Okay, is there any debate on the amendment?
Sorry, KPC pharmacy. The second stanza that you guys are adding, the section comma while, that comma splice.
Say that one more time.
Section comma while, that comma should not be there.
Section, I hear you.
Is there any debate on that amendment?
During education, I just had a question about the second barricade one. Was there a question about whether the barricade was going to be taken away, or is this just kind of an extra safeguard type thing with the alcohol?
Point of order real quick.
Yeah, first let's vote on this amendment that was just made, and then we can
Sorry
address
about
that.
Thank you.
Senator- Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate on that amendment? Okay, seeing no one else vote, all in favor of passing the amendment, please say aye. Click A. All opposed? The ayes have it, and the amendment will be carried. We still haven't voted on the other amendment. That was an amendment to the amendment. Now, would you like to raise your question again?
Yeah, I'll just repeat it. During education, so like I just said, is the question regarding the barricade? I'm just asking for clarification. Is there talk that barricade may have been potentially taken away, or is that just in regards to the alcohol?
Yeah, we just want to make sure in the pursuit of this that is not taken away. Like, if that makes sense, we just want to advocate for that along with the pursuit of selling alcohol in the student section, because like the selling of alcohol in Jordan Hare Stadium has been a talk for a long time, and we just want to make sure if that's implemented, we want to make sure that does not. That's just almost like a precautionary thing, and we just want to make sure that we keep that. James, you have any?
Sure. I mean, you could see a logistical standpoint of, oh, if we're just going to have it in the stadium, let's just get rid of the fences. You can travel anywhere. We'll have a couple designated spots. You might have to walk all the way around the whole stadium to get to that designated spot. We see the value in keeping that fence. We see the value of the students being contained in that area. We see the value of not having non-students in that area as well. So we wanted to make sure that you don't allow that crossing over, and we have our own area as well. And we also want to have an area specifically warranted towards students to make sure that the proper safety protocols within the student section are upheld as well, and that those standards, it'd be the same all the way around the stadium. We want to make sure the student section has the standards that we'd love to see first as well.
I think kind of our thought behind that is we could see it happening to where that is kind of taken for granted, and that is a way, like, since this is the university and this is the athletic department that is going to be pursuing the selling of alcohol in the stadium, we want the student senate to be a part of that, and I think by maintaining the barricade and throwing that in there, I think that kind of amplifies our voice a little bit and makes sure that like they know that we want to be a part of it as well.
Tell engineer. Two things about this. I guess the first thing is, so we're advocating for it to be sold in the student section. Have y'all heard anything otherwise to where they're just going to be selling it on other parts of the stadium? Excluding the student section?
Sure. Conversations have been around of, will we sell it in the student section, will we not? Regardless of how those conversations have gone in the past, we just want to make our message clear that whether it's in Jordan Hare Stadium, the general public or not, as students, with that, the reason we also kind of made to speak to the other point, if we still have the closed-off section, regardless of what the rest of Jordan Hare Stadium was, we still want to recommend this for the inclusion of alcohol for the game day experiences. If that helps.
Okay, and then can we go back to the, so
only in one part of the stadium, you might see a lot of students standing in that line.
And also to add to that, let's say we're playing a non-conference game and your family sits in the upper deck on the other side of Jordan Hare Stadium. You have the ability to walk all the way around. Let's say the attendance of that game wasn't at max capacity and there were some seats open. You're allowing students to leave the designated student section to sit in other areas of the stadium. And I think the student section is something we want to make sure is as filled out as possible since those seats are allocated to us. We don't want to take for granted the ability and the opportunity that athletic gives us to have reserved seats for those games as well.
Well, I've just had experiences where, Sergio,
Yeah,
you want to talk about?
living at large, my parents are season ticket holders and they do let you outside of the barricades, you're just not allowed back in. So like during the fourth quarter, almost every game, if I'm not sitting in like my block section, I will go and see my parents. So I am a big fan of the barricades, but just know that like students are allowed to leave, they're just not allowed to come back. So if alcohol is in the stadium, say other parts, students would be able to leave and go buy alcohol in those other sections, they just wouldn't be able to be back in the student section.
And I think that's kind of like the point we're trying to advocate for, is so that the sale of alcohol is in the student section. But I understand what you're saying, and maybe that is a wording change, that has to happen. But like what we're getting at is that we want to maintain the integrity of our student section because I think the barricades are a blessing. And we also want to promote the sale of alcohol inside the student section.
And also to add, the reason we put the barricading section, not that we will think there's value in it only being students in that section, where you take, the reason we wanted that barricading language in there is to make sure that also non-student ticket holders weren't able to wander into the student section as well.
I think the fact that we're keeping students or non-students out of the student section is good. I just wanted this to be as factually accurate as possible. So in the case that someone does look at this can't be a little misleading.
Sure. I'm a little confused on what the misleading language might be because it's not saying we're changing the current rules. Like I feel like it defines barricading, closing the student section, other section of the stadium, fits the current definition as well. I don't think.
I guess it's only the retaining students in the section part.
I think retaining in the section is like, it's kind of saying we would like students to stay in the section without leaving. I don't really see, like what James was saying, and maybe you're reading it this way to where it seems like you can come out and come back in. We don't want to convey that message because that's not factually accurate. We don't want to convey it.
And to Senator Levine's point, yes, you can currently leave, but I think you would be more inclined to leave maybe the second quarter and then come back, and then the third quarter and come back. And the current rules being in place, you can only leave once. That's perfectly fine. That's athletics call. But we wanted to add that so you're not leaving the second quarter, coming back. And so.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what other senators have to think about this.
Senator Dismukes for the next one.
I think that just the word retain gives off the notion of you're not allowing students to exit at all. And from an outside reading view, first time you look at that, you kind of say, why can't students leave? And I think that if I want to leave the student section to go see my parents because they have season tickets too, I'm going to go leave the student section. And I don't think that you can really keep students from leaving the student section. So I think maybe the problem is focusing, you need to adjust the focus to more keeping others out and leave it as it is, because I think most of us who might need to leave the student section understand the rule. And I feel like apart from that, if you still want to get into the debate, the clarification of, students can leave but cannot come back, nor can non-students enter at any given time, then there might need to be an addition of another whereas, or I think that's just diving into a whole other
Can you repeat the last sentence you said?
issue.
You're talking the recommendation you made in wording.
Yeah, I think the word retain is just harsh in the fact that it gives off the vibe that you are not letting students leave at all. Whereas, that's not true. It's not a true statement. So I guess, and then maybe adjust it to where students, adjust the focus on okay.
I'm gonna yield a point of order to Madam President for second.
Yeah, so I think when we're talking about the barricades, just think about it from like there could be two situations for barricades. So either they keep the barricades up, and if there is alcohol in the rest of Jordan Hare, a student would have to then leave the student section, purchase the beer or wine, and then would not be able to return to his or her seats. So that's the first option. Or the second option is they would then, if alcohol is not sold within the student section, if the barricades were then removed, so that way students could still participate and come back to their seats, then you lose the security of the student seats. So I think that's kind of the point of keeping the barricades up and keeping the alcohol in Jordan Hare, so that way we have a designated spot. Can I go to a question?
I was under the impression that we would have sale of alcohol in both the student section and outside as well, so that students had access, just like you said earlier, where there are certain concessions only in the student section. Would there be the sale of alcohol just in the student section so that barricades isn't even an issue brought up?
So that's what this is asking for. So there are other interests on campus who have, and within conversations, potentially would want that excluded from the student section. So that's why we want the student voice on having it within the student section specifically. Senator Rowley?
May I propose an amendment? Do I need to wait?
Any other questions?
Madam President, if I may comment, I think I don't want us to lose sight of another big reason why that fencing is there from the athletics perspective as well. Athletics is not encouraging students to leave the student section to go to other seats at any time regardless. So I know retain might be harsh in wording to some, but it's just the fact that we've been in for years and years in our current system, and I think that this is what athletics would recommend as well, and not just think, but know from conversations we've had, in that we want, if we're gonna keep the student section separate, we do not want students migrating to and from that section. We want an isolated, contained zone that does not allow exit and re-entry. It's been that way for a reason that athletics has done it, and that wording is there intentionally to uphold that integrity that athletics would like us to keep.
Absolutely. I'm not going to speak on the wording because that's for y'all to decide, but I do think that a full student section is always, SGA manages the block seating program and works very closely with athletics regarding the student section overall. And we saw this year that players commented multiple times on that atmosphere and the packed student section does go really far in their morale and that team spirit. So having a full student section is certainly a goal. Protecting those seats for students, they're great seats and we're really lucky to have that lower bowl area that many SEC peers don't have as their student section. So we want to protect those seats. And then finally, we want that atmosphere in the student section to be the best atmosphere in the SEC, as we all know it has been in the past. So you don't want it anywhere to be potentially have something that a student might want, such as beer or wine, that the student section doesn't have. So we want to keep the student section the best place to watch all of football. Any other questions? Yes, Senator Ward.
So
Yeah, no problem. Senator Speaks.
Can I make a motion to say, instead of retain, cut retain, and then in order to encourage students to stay in the section? To remain. Or remain.
Before I sit down, any final questions? Thank y'all.
Yeah, can you repeat what you said, Senator Davis?
In order to encourage students to remain. After students to remain.
Is there a second? Is there any debate on that amendment? Seeing no one, I move to vote. Okay, let's see.
Just gather my thoughts for a second.
I'll speak before Senator Stacy. I think that by changing that language a little bit, it kind of takes away like our message, the strength of what we're trying to say. I know James and I, like, in the way that all of this was written, it's like we want to have as much of a voice in it as we can. And we want athletics. I mean, Jordan-Hare Stadium, we are really lucky in the fact that they cater to students with our student section. And we want to show them that we are committed to the athletic program just as much as they're committed to us. And by just saying encourage, it's almost like, yeah, it'd be great if you stay, but you can also go out. And why, like, we can't keep people there, but we do want to show them that we have a commitment to staying for these football games. And I think by changing that wording a little bit, I know the way that it was written, it kind of loses a little bit of the strength from our point of view.
Right, and just to continue on that, I put up just definition of the word retain, to continue to have, keep possession of. Nothing's saying you don't have the ability to leave. Nothing's, except athletics themselves, saying this is your confined area that we give every game. And I think to change the language to encourage would send the message to athletics that we want to have the ability to migrate to and from different sections, which I do not think we need to ask athletics for, especially if we're going to ask to keep the barriers themselves. Because I think that kind of contradicts half the message of having barriers. I know it's a few words we're debating here, but I think retain holds great value to the message we're trying to uphold. I personally feel that when this comes across athletics desk, it's probably not even going to be a thought or concern whatever way we end up deciding to vote on. But I will argue that I think retain, if it did come into question, is going to hold stronger value amongst athletics.
Is there any debate on the amendment?
Sure, Bryant, I was just saying, like, looking at the audience of the resolution and it being athletics, I do now see the reasoning for the stronger wording. Like they kind of mentioned earlier, I mean, athletics loses potential hundreds of thousands of dollars every year by giving us the lower bowl seats. And so, personally, I'm not in favor of bringing alcohol to Jordan-Hare Stadium, but I think that it's something that's happening, and I'm talking with our constituents, it's something that people want, and so that's like what we have to advocate for. And so, kind of going off of what Mary Margaret was saying, if that were to be sold in other parts of the stadium, which is very likely, what would that be? What would that do to our student section? And from like a television standpoint, from how our athletes feel, from the feeling the Auburn family. I know I chose Auburn based on my first Auburn football game. It's probably not great, but it's things like that. And so I think barricades and retaining students in there, it makes an impact to the game day experience, which is something we have a whole dedicated branch from SGA to, or whole section of programming. So I understand that. And looking at the audience is athletics. I think it's important that we, while we're requesting this, we can assure them that their investment in us is sound for us. If that makes sense.
No, engineering. But then on that note, we also don't want athletics to take that as we don't want to leave the stadium, because I know, or the barricades, because some students do enjoy going and sit next to their parents, and we got to think on the other side that this might say we just want to stay inside this section. So I guess the main thing is like, what is the ruling, like the official ruling? Are we supposed to be able to leave the student section, or is that just like event staff letting students out?
See, I was under the impression you're not. And I'd call if there anybody in the room that has knowledge, love to yield time to Corey.
You are allowed to leave the section. It's just that you can't come back in. So you are allowed to, if you want to go somewhere else, it is your choice to leave through the barricade.
Motion to bring this question.
Alright, it's been motion to the previous question. Is there any debate on that? Seeing no one, I move to a vote. All in favor of going back to the previous question, please say aye. Click A.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We'll go back to the previous question. Is there time on that? So what was the last thing we had? This yeah. Okay. So is there any debate? Well, no. We'll now vote on the highlighted amendment. So all in favor, please say aye. Click A.
Aye.
Oh, my bad. Let me explain. All in favor of making the amendment to say encourage students to remain in the student section, or in the section, please say aye. Click A.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
just so we're sure.
Everybody revote. All in favor of making the amendment, please say aye and click A.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, the no as a yes.
So, the nays have it and, retain remains. Grant, we still haven't voted on the amendment itself. One second. Okay, is there any debate on the amendment? Senator B?
Media engineering, something that people would reconcile the sides a little bit, and kept what he had said. Instead of saying retain or encourage, to say use to maintain the integrity of the student section. I'd like to open that to debate, in case everyone is done with debating. But I'll leave it to all make motion pass.
Is there a second?
Yeah, the addition of names to say maintain the integrity of the student section.
You know that. Is there any debate on this wording?
I make a motion pass.
Second.
Is there any debate? Alright, seeing none, I move to the vote. All in favor of passing this amendment, just to maintain the integrity part, please say aye and click A.
Aye.
All opposed? And the ayes have it. Now we'll vote on the amendment itself as a whole. Is there any debate on the amendments? Super easy.
On the amendments?
Yeah. Yeah, like the red highlight, the highlighter red part. Is there any debate on that?
No.
Okay. Seeing none, when I move to a vote, all, Senator Patel.
It's a little further.
That's
supposed to be this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I
You
caught
guys
that.
did very nice. Is there any other debate, beyond the fourth? Okay, seeing no one, I move to a vote. All in favor of passing the amendments in red, please say aye, click A. Aye. All opposed? Alright, the ayes have it, and the amendments will be carried for the remainder of the resolution. So now we will speak on the resolution as itself as a whole. Is there any debate? Senator Hemphies.
In PC Pharmacy, I propose that you lowercase, alcohol, because it's not a proper noun.
That's a debate.
Yes. I motion to make that change. Second.
Okay, is there any debate? One second. Alright, seeing no one, I move to the vote. All in favor of passing this amendment, please say aye and click A.
Aye.
All opposed? Alright, the ayes have it, and this will be carried. Senator Hemphies.
In PC Pharmacy, it goes further down a little bit. In between the amendments that we just passed, the black, meat of the hamburger, there's no and at the end of that. So if you wanna maintain all the way through, then you would add an and, so I propose that we add an and right there.
Alright. Is there a second? other debate on the remainder of the resolution?
Probably Cassie. This is kind of thing that I think Senator Patel was kind of hitting on, but just one thing that kind of like helped the, maybe consider like help the unity of all this is look at the top of the title, it says, recommending selling the alcohol in the student section of Jordan-Hare Stadium, and then like y'all, in the therefore statement letter, you're saying to pursue the selling of alcohol in Jordan-Hare Stadium, including student section. So just something kind of about like the wording of that, like the title kind of strongly points out like we're going for in the student section, but then that last therefore statement has us the selling of alcohol and also inside the student section. I mean the selling of alcohol in Jordan-Hare Stadium and then also kind of in the student section. So it's something kind of like where like the title is asking for just one, and then the therefore is kind of asking for two. So I don't know if there's something maybe in the title y'all could change, maybe, or
Choice between this and maybe James has a different thing. But so the pursuit of alcohol in the stadium is kind of ongoing, and so I think what we're trying to convey in this is that we want the student section to be included in that. And so I think we're not really. I understand what you're saying. Maybe we can change that, but the point of this is to include the student section in the pursuit of alcohol. And maybe it's a title change, or maybe it's a change to this, or maybe it's not. But like, this is about the inclusion of the student section in that pursuit, because that pursuit is ongoing.
yeah, I think that's something too. Like, I personally haven't set in general like section in like a while where I so like I honestly don't know whether we sold alcohol in there or not, or something.
We
about
do
it.
in club seating in the stadium right now,
Exactly.
not general seating.
Exactly. And so like I know like the people who y'all would be sending this resolution to would know that and everything, so they would probably better understand that than I did right off the bat.
None at large. So this isn't like a clerical thing or anything like that. But like, so I spent like a couple hours this morning just kind of like walking around, just asking students what they thought about this, because I didn't really know, and I didn't want to just come in here and tell y'all what I thought. But what I found is that like a lot of students are really in favor of doing this in the stadium. The ones that said that they like would like buy some alcohol were obviously very in favor of it. But like the thing that also surprised me was students that said like, no, I don't drink, but like they wouldn't mind if we had it just because it would cut down on the number of like people that drink way too much before they come into a game and stuff like that. And I think that's something that we kind of haven't talked about a whole lot, but like that would, I think, make the environment as a whole a lot tamer. If the student knows that they're going to be able to buy a drink when they come into the game versus them just trying to, fill themselves up with as much as they possibly can before. Like I think it will contribute to a safer environment for students that are able to like consume responsibly. So I really encourage everybody to vote on this bill in favor, just because of kind of the feedback that I got this morning. So thank you all.
Easy Pharmacy, of those people that you talked to, were they of age to drink? Or did you clarify that? Because of the people in this room, I don't think that many of us are actually of age to drink and speak of that population. And of the students that sit in the student section, I don't know that we can actually represent that population without doing more polling of those students to see actually what those students who can buy the alcohol legally and not bring it back to their friends in block seating or their friends in the student section elsewhere that aren't supposed to be illegally purchasing that alcohol. And while you may say, okay, we can regulate this by giving everyone a wristband that says, like, yeah, I purchased my 2 beers that I'm allotted or whatever, I'm just going to go take that wristband off and give those 2 beers to my friends so I can go buy 2 more. So I think that this is like a whole, like, what do they say, where you like open the doors, floodgate, Pandora's box of a lot of problems with risk management.
Yeah, can I respond to that real quick? So to answer your first part of the question, I did not ask if anybody was of age. I mean, like, I know for a fact I'm not of age, but in 2 weeks I will be. So like, I would be able to share this blood for my birthday party. Just kidding. But like, so basically like what I was trying to say is that I'm not of age right now, but like when football season comes around, I will be. So like, I didn't ask that. But most students, if they're not of age now, they will probably have a season down wherever they are. So it would affect them in the future. But on top of that, like the one thing to keep in mind is that this is not us writing the rules for gaming. It's a resolution saying that we've talked to students and they feel strongly about this. And And so I don't think that we would be able to necessarily address every single risk management issue, and this is ultimately not something that is going to become law if we pass it tonight. This is something that tells the administration this is how we feel. And so just kind of going off of those concerns you raised, those are things that athletics and I guess other people are going to have to look at. And so we might, this is just a way of communicating how students feel. And so I think that the students that I spoke to did feel strongly in favor of this. That's why I will be voting yes.
Looking at large, kind of like going off of Lauren's perspective, I would just like to point out that some student senate is not 21, and I personally do not think that we are worthy of voting on this and bringing it to the student senate and to the university when half of the students in here are probably not 21. And another thing that is like with student feedback, when I was working on the accommodation for Dean Hinton, we had to have proof that students were in support of this, and like actual proof, whether that was a survey or something of that sort, and we had to get thank you notes written. That was something that was recommended to us, and I just wish that maybe before we pass this, that there was more backup from students. Like, yes, talking to your constituents is great, but where is actual proof?
Say business, just to speak on the age argument, I will say that yes, for students to consume alcohol, you need to be 21 years of age. But I think to have a say, you do not need to be 21 years of age, because all students are going to be in a student section with alcohol. So whether you're drinking or not, I think you should still have a say in that process. And I would certainly argue we are qualified as 18, 19, 20-year-olds to say if we would like this to be around us before we are of legal age and can participate if we choose to that addressing point. In terms of the database and feedback collection, a lot of our senators have gone out and reached out to our fellow constituents. We looked into surveying, and the surveying team, we heavily discussed doing that. And with our discussions with athletics as well, we decided that having an official survey where we reached out to the student body and sought the rules according to that, according to the executive team, were not of the best interest at the time, and rather the feedback that we had gathered was the best route. I certainly do say that to the other piece of legislation that have come through with that great research is wonderful, but I will say I do think there's value as well in us representing our constituents, us reaching out to our constituents, maybe not in the most formal of settings, but being able to gather strong and legit feedback and reasonable feedback from our constituents and other routes are certainly admissible in my opinion as well.
Senator Ryan.
Bryant Business, would you scroll down to the appendix? So I also was concerned with this when we first started discussing it. This is something that the Student Affairs Committee has been discussing since this past fall. It was at that time that I reached out to the SGA president at Texas A&M. I'm close friends from home with a lot of members of their SGA. And again, coming from an original standpoint, not in favor of this at all. Their hard evidence and their numbers and their personal testimonials of it working they had really great evidence of it being successful there. And I know that that's a different school, but it's also a larger school. And personally, I feel like we're very similar culturally. And so we don't have hard evidence here at Auburn necessarily from student feedback. There is evidence of it working elsewhere. So I just.
Okay, NBC Pharmacy, just to respond to that, I don't think Texas A&M has alcohol in their student section. They just have it in their stadium. Is that correct?
It's everywhere.
Oh, it's throughout their entire stadium.
They don't have an enclosed student section. It's everywhere.
Okay,
From
thank you.
my, am I correct there?
Yes.
Okay. And state business, just to add to what Senator Bryant spoke about, Ohio State's another university that has allowed it, along with 6 other SEC schools that have chosen this route. And one thing that I don't want us to forget is LSU sold almost $2.3 million of alcohol. And I don't know if y'all are all aware of this, but revenue that comes in from athletics through concessions goes to something called concessions board that goes to benefit student organizations, individual student projects, faculty projects, and other administrative projects that this would add direct funding to. In terms of the safety side, A&M and their president spoke to great safety-related occurrences. Ohio State saw a 114-person decrease in alcohol-related incidents. in their first year of initiating it. The second year was even more of a difference. They went from 175 incidents in 2015 to 61 in 1 year, and I think that's incredible. And just goes to show that yes, alcohol will be in the stadium, but it's amazing the difference that it can make within the stadium as well at other institutions.
None at large. And then this is kind of to just expand on a point that I brought up earlier, is that we don't have all the answers as far as risk management and that kind of thing. But there are schools that apparently do and that have implemented policies that have kept students safe, and I think that they would be a great resource for our administration to reach out to going forward. So that's one of the things where we might not have all the answers in front of us right now, but this is a great start to getting that done for the business.
Huntley, Human Sciences. I know that we're not supposed to be talking completely risk management. I know that that's not up to all of our discretion in this room, but I do think it's important to kind of understand how this is going to be implemented. If this is something that we say that students do want, we kind of need to know what that's going to look like. So one thing that I brought up in the Senate exec that I'll bring up here, I know you probably don't have the answer to this question because this would definitely be something on the flip end, but as far as being able to purchase alcohol with Tiger Card money, I do see that being a risk management issue, especially if like you have a student who, I use this example in City Exec, if you,
It's a great example.
yes, if you were a senior and you had a little brother that had a ton of Tiger Card money on their card and you spent all $350 on Chick-fil-A in the first week, and your little brother is not of age, would you then be able to purchase that alcohol? Technically, that student would be purchasing that alcohol underage. That concession worker did not check that student ID. So that is a big concern of mine and how we're going to address that. I mean, obviously there's the very easy solution of allowing students to just pay with their debit card, credit card, or cash, but then that kind of impacts the student experience because you walk into a game expecting to be able to pay with your Tiger Card money and not have that additional expense come out of those accounts. So that is something that I would love to be everybody's take on and address this.
Senator Huntley, if I may respond, it's a very valid point, something to definitely look into. Our statement on safety, we got a couple stanzas in here, and we really left a lot up to athletics to decide because we're certainly not the experts on alcohol distribution. None of us have liquor licenses that we sell, but it's certainly good that we're thinking of those ideas like Senator Huntley has mentioned. I think that's where the value is in the resolution of having this student voice and wanting to be involved in these decisions, specifically within the student section, so that we can speak about our concerns where if we do allow Tiger Card, we'd like there to be a required ID check to make sure the Tiger Card is indeed you. Or if we don't use the Tiger Card, and that's the decision athletics comes to, we don't have to have this conversation at all. But certainly want to leave those logistics up to athletics and certainly have the student feedback as well, along with the great risk management team at Auburn University and in the athletics department to make those decisions as well, if that helps.
Taylor Gracie, just going off of all my dining feedback and work this past year, Tiger Card money is underneath contracting, and so that might be a discussion for later on in between athletics and dining, because Tiger Card money does have a contract with Amtrak, I believe, is the company that does sponsor the food here, so that's just a later discussion that probably won't be possible until contracting issues are figured out within the dining department, just for everyone's information.
I just had a question for Senator Huntley. What is because you would still have to present ID showing that you're 21. What was the problem in someone using someone else's ID?
So basically, the example that I gave is you're a senior and you've gone through proper protocol, completely legal, and you have the risk of it, but you have a Tiger Card that is of a student that is underage and you're purchasing that with that student's Tiger Card. So it is you purchasing it who is a legal drinker of alcohol, but you're purchasing it under someone who is not legal.
So I'm still not as long as the person over 21 is getting the alcohol, I'm still not understanding the problem. Gotcha, like if somebody's looking at the records of how you spend your money. Gotcha, sorry.
And say this one more time, if I may speak. I believe that it is already set in place that the selling of anything at any location, the Tiger card is used, there's a picture on it for a reason, and you're not supposed to be sold to if it is not you. So that would be another thing on the distributor of that item that would not follow the proper protocol, making sure that Tiger card's you regardless. But I definitely see how it could be something that happens because it's not checked every time, I'm sure, as well as it should.
Just something to consider.
Sure, absolutely.
So,
Engineering. Also, another thing I've noticed going to other SEC schools that implemented this is they have separate like lines for the sale of alcohol. So there's not a huge rush of students trying to buy a hot dog with the students that are trying to buy alcohol. So those people that are trained, they're specifically trained to work at those stations, and hopefully they'll look at the cards more. But I have noticed just a separate point of sale.
I think a lot of the discussion has been good, and with those questions being brought up, I think that is all more of a later date after the fact. And even though this is a resolution, I mean, it is not in fact us making the rules or anything, and we don't have jurisdiction over risk management or Amtrak and whatever alcohol beverage sales they have. So I'd like to make a motion to vote.
Second.
any debate?
Yeah.
Any motion?
Well, I like still have something to debate, so whatever you do. So I would like to, I saw before Andrew's hand that there are still 3 people's hands up, and so I'd like to say no second so we can continue the debate.
So we're voting on
Whether to go to vote or not, we're voting on 2 votes.
okay. I'm not
So all in favor of voting to vote?
okay. All in favor of voting to vote, please say aye and click A.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
We're looking for one more. And anybody's not working.
All right, we're gonna do
Because it's down to 1 vote.
all right, hey, everybody, come on. So, all in favor of voting to vote, please say aye and click A.
Aye.
Is anybody, and all opposed?
Nay.
There it is. Okay, the nays have it.
Continue to debate, so.
I'm Levine at large, sorry. I'm just curious, this, about alcohol in the stadium and like this discussion has like been announced by the SEC since football season, and I'm just like curious why there's a spark in the conversation now instead of like in the past.
Say the business, do you mind defining the past?
Yeah, so like during football season, like when this was announced, why haven't we like made a accommodation to like recognize it then? Like when we're in the middle of football season, and maybe we could have gotten like more participation on like why students and like alumni, maybe like a survey to alumni sent out on like their recommendation, because I know my grandparents are season ticket holders at LSU, and they personally got a survey asking if they support it because they are the big money maker of the schools. So I'm just curious as to why students in it, but also like why are we bringing this up now and not in the past of like football season when this was a big topic of discussion instead of like now right before.
So this conversation has been ongoing since August of last year, working with athletics, continuing those conversations, and waiting on how this season went with the SEC to really go and get our full attention and our full information from other peer institutions. The university is going to make a decision before they announce season ticket holders what the situation is going to be in Jordan-Hare Stadium. That's very soon. So after all this information and to the fullest extent of conversations that we can possibly have, we decided that at the conclusion of those conversations, before a decision is rendered, that we go ahead and make our recommendation as well at this time to coincide with athletics' decision as well, if that makes sense.
Ms. Allen?
Saddle Engineering. I just wanted to hear more about how students are going to stay involved in the conversation after the fact about safety. We talked about that a lot in student affairs, that's kind of left to the professionals, but we also wanted to talk about it and have a say in it. So
so in the resolution, we asked, whereas the student body will want this addition assuming safety and precaution against abuse of alcohol, blah, blah, blah. We're going from there to talk more about, we expect well-trained staff and strict ID regulation. We set a couple of our understandings, and athletics has been gracious enough to keep us in a lot of these conversations so far. And they understand that this is something we'd like, it's something we'd like to continue being in the conversation with as well, especially in the student section. So it's really going to be a conversation with athletics, the ongoing conversation thereof. And if for some reason we're left out and a decision is rendered that goes against our recommendation, that's certainly our point to step in. We don't have the full autonomy over athletics deciding how much involvement we have, but I feel that the resolution states enough our intentions of safety, precautions, and everything else that we like, where if a decision was rendered that we weren't included on, that we felt like we should, certainly within our right to step in.
Any other debate?
Can I say one more thing? I think one thing that's important to remember is that this conversation about selling alcohol in the stadium was started way before we introduced this bill. And it's something that is going to benefit the university. And I think the purpose of this resolution is to have the student senate included in that. That's what we're asking for. We're asking to be included into a decision that's really going to benefit or really impact one way or another the university, and all signs are pointing to a benefit. And I think what we're doing by writing this is, like I just said, is to be included in that conversation, because ultimately we aren't the ones, this vote is not deciding whether alcohol is going to be sold in the stadium or not. It is about including the student section in those conversations and in that pursuit.
Nothing even sciences. This is strictly clerical. If it is going to pass, if it is going to go to the president and board of trustee, I want everybody's titles to be right. The office is director of Tiger Dining, not just diners. So I know it's super nitpicky, but it's going to go to all those people.
Any debate? Seeing no one, I move to a vote. All in favor of adding Tiger, please say aye and click A.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Now we're back at the resolution with the amendments. Is there any further debate? Okay. Seeing no one, I move to a vote. All in favor of passing the resolution, please say aye and click A.
Aye.
All opposed?
The ayes
All right, the ayes have it. This resolution is adopted. Next, we have future orders of business.
PSS R 20020301, resolution for need-based financial aid.
This brought to us in the obtaining, presented by Senator Sullivan.
I'm gonna be fast and just read it, and if you have any questions, y'all can talk to me or say, next week. Okay. Whereas the Student Senate is elected to represent students regarding the Auburn student experience, and whereas the Student Senate is vested with the responsibility to serve as the voice of the student body, and whereas the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators glossary defines need as the student cost of attendance minus their expected standing contribution. An unmet need is the student's cost of attendance minus their expected family contribution or family financial responsibility. And whereas 33% of the fall 2018 freshman class awarded a need-based scholarship or grant aid, but only 6.9% of those students' financial need were fully met with the average grant award being $9,400 as well. And whereas Auburn University currently offers 3 need-based scholarships, and Everett Conqueror $20,000 are awarded for incoming freshmen or transfer students through Rivers Leadership Undergraduate Scholarship Class, which gives $8,000 to eligible incoming Alabama residents who are incoming freshmen or transfer students. And the Board of Trustees Scholarship, which is $1,500 awarded for 1 year to Alabama residents who demonstrate financial need. And whereas the average unmet need for students awarded at least one scholarship, any scholarship, with the need for the 2019-2020 academic year was 8,869. And Auburn University predicted that approximately 1,900 students in the new freshman class would have some sort of financial need. And whereas Auburn University's current strategic plan prioritizes the achievement of a robust and diverse enrollment of students while having access, affordability, and academic quality. As a land-grant institution, Auburn remains committed to access, and affordability, but currently
think, again, we're going to complete that survey by the 31st for the Academic Affairs Committee and online registration. That will help them out a lot. Okay, yeah. We will have, so next Monday is the debate, as some of you know, so that starts at 6, I believe. But, so Senate typically we will have it right after. We usually have it in the room upstairs right after the debate in the ballroom, but we will have Senate in this room, just like normal next week, starting at either 7:30 or after the debate. So whichever one of those comes first. But yeah, so just make sure to come here. I'll it'll be in the minutes. We'll send a reminder, but look forward to that. I also encourage you all to go to the debate if you can, and be able to really listen to our candidates, be able to talk about what they have going on. Reach out to your schools council members if they did come present. But really, I'll reach out to you actually. So also we have St. Louis Cabinet Center of the Year, which is at the banquet. First of all, the banquet is March 1st. We'll give y'all more information about that, but we really appreciate everybody to come attend that if you can. We'll have RSVPs come out, but like I said, that's where Cabinet Member of the Year and Center of the Year are awarded. So I'm going to take nominations, and then by the end of the week, I'll work with Libby to get a AU involved survey out, and then we'll have a vote, and then that person will be named at the banquet. So,
I want to nominate Senator Patel. He's worked so tirelessly in academic affairs. Probably the dude that always has an announcement. Those Scantron machines, printing. He's really done it all. And so I know he's meant so much outside of Senate, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So.
I'd like to nominate Hope Ward. I think she's done an incredible job with the code of laws. As you guys can tell, she's put in a lot of time and a lot of work.
Just curious, is this something that we can nominate people if somebody comes to mind later?
Yeah, all right, so how about this? We go till, wait, the survey will be done by, we want to have the survey voted on by Friday. You email me by tomorrow at noon. Yeah, tomorrow by noon. But we'll take those, and then we'll get you the survey out and have that done by Friday. But beyond that, thank you for all for attending and staying motivated for the remainder of the term. We got a couple more meetings. We'll talk to you more about transition. I know Senator Huntley brought that up, but we really want to set the precedent for the next group. With that being said, it is in the code of laws that you must meet with the group after us. It was a little rough because that was kind of the new thing that came in during our term, but I really want to help out with the next group so they can have more of a direction of what they have going on. So you are required in the code of laws to do it, and we'll configure that down the road. But I'll get you more information on that. But you're ready to transition, and there's going to be an interesting time, but we still have a little more work to do. So thank you all for staying motivated, and yeah, that's it for me.
Awesome. A couple things from me. First, each of y'all should have last week gotten the SGA Assessment Survey. If you have not already taken it, please do so. That's going to be a large goal for us, especially as we plan for the next term. It'll take you about 20 minutes to take. Also, this is an exciting year. This is the first time that SGA has had a single application for all positions. That application, this is for cabinet, will go live right after the campaign kickoff on Wednesday, and will remain open through the duration of cabinet applications. So if you are interested in applying for cabinet, or if you have any friends that are interested, encourage them to apply for that. Again, it'll go live on AU Involved this Wednesday at 3. The link for that is it's an Obby link /apply for SGA. And if you're interested in being on exec, the application will need to be turned in by next Friday, or 2 Fridays from now, February 7th. And so tonight for our advisors 3-pointers, I'm going to show you all a quick video. When watching this video, I want you all to be thinking about at what point was the race won.
Set. The crowd roars and the cameras flash, and a very good run by the American Charles Timmons, who's gone very strongly indeed. The Jamaicans have got it, so the Americans, and Gatlin's made a bit of headway down the back straight there, and it's USA from Jamaica at the moment, very, very strong indeed. But here goes the Jamaican changeover was terrific, and all of a sudden you've got Tyson
and they handed off the baton from the first team to the second team. So as we start to come to the end of this term, I want y'all to think about transitions. How if y'all quit running with the baton, knowing we have 2 more meetings left, and if you quit running, you'll never have the opportunity to hand it off to the next team, and so they won't be able to finish off the projects that y'all have started. At the same time, some of the projects y'all have been working on, when the term's over, after y'all transition them, that's your opportunity to let them run with the baton and go forward with things. And so whether it's with SGA or your other endeavors, many great things can take multiple terms and years to be seen through. So I want to encourage each of y'all to understand that great SGA projects sometimes take multiple terms to complete, and so really focus on that transition because you have the opportunity to not only finish this term strong, but also to set the next group up for success. That's all I got. Thank you.
Another thing I did want to say is last time I see y'all before elections, so you all know the rules and all. We work on the codes a lot, so be able to answer some questions for some of the constituents that may have some over this next week or so, because that's what you all are vested in with your role. So I appreciate everything y'all done up to this point and continue to do that. So we're going to go ahead and click out, so please pick up your iPad and click A. All right, any other business? All right, this meeting's adjourned. That was so
That vote was a lot closer than it sounded. It was all the votes.
That also